Today's the best day ever. You want to know why today's the best day ever?
Why is today the best day ever?
Because we're listening to Milk and Screams, my boy. You want to know the second reason why today's the best day ever?
Give me reason number
We're
2.
one day closer to our 69th birthday.
You know what? That's true. I hadn't thought about it like that, nor had I cared.
If you're just having a crappy day, remember, one day you will be 69 for a whole year.
What if there are people listening to this that have already passed that age?
If you're listening to this,
have we hit that demographic?
Okay. If you're listening to this, and you are past the age of 69, or if you are 69, and you're listening to this, just know you are the most powerful person.
In the past week, you've changed your mind. 16-year-olds no longer have the power.
Now 69-year-olds have the most power. They're running the Illuminati. That's who they are.
Thank you guys for joining us yet again. Like you said, listen to Milk and Screams
Best
with
day
Kyle
ever.
and Jacob. We never put in that second part, but that's who we are.
Yeah, one of us is Kyle,
That was me.
and the other one is Jacob.
That was you.
You can't see us, so it doesn't really matter. But I guess you can kind of tell our voices apart.
Soon.
Yeah, that's coming up soon. We've got the camera on order, so there might be. We still haven't decided, but there might be a week break at some point because we anticipate that video editing is going to take us a little longer than just regular audio editing. And neither of us really have any experience with video at all.
Right. And
So
when we start video, it seems like you have a more interactive vision for the video version than I do.
a bit more.
Yeah,
not that
because
much.
my real goal, especially with just one camera, was to just have it there and then really just that be uploaded without really having to touch and edit anything or add stuff.
But even still, we still want to make sure that all the audio is lined up and everything like that. So we might take a week break so we can get one episode ahead.
And then probably once my finals hit, we'll lose that 1 week ahead.
Oh yeah.
Because I probably won't record anytime during that week, and then we'll be right back to even. So it'll work out.
Yeah, it'll work out. But yeah, that's some stuff that's coming down the pipeline. I know we've said it a billion times, but DreamWorks versus Pixar Part 2 is coming up.
At some point, yeah.
I just haven't had time to watch another movie, but I've watched so many.
I've got a couple DreamWorks ones that I need to watch / revisit.
Really?
To have the overall conversation, because by the end of all of this, you'll have watched more DreamWorks movies than me.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Because you'll have seen,
and
some
that'll
of the
make
ones...
me a better person than you.
For sure, yeah. If morality were a race, and when it comes to the DreamWorks watching, you would finish first.
Yep.
But yeah, that'll be fun. I'm also going to preemptively apologize for my current voice. Actually, my voice probably sounds really good right now because of how deep it is.
I'm listening to it right
through
now.
the microphone. It's gonna sound great, but
Okay,
in case you hear some sniffs that I'm doing my best to hold back, and you're not a big fan of nose sounds, I apologize. I'm a little backed up.
Do you mean sick?
I'm not sick.
Kyle, do you mean sick?
Jacob, I can't be sick because I don't get sick, and if I don't get sick, I can't be sick.
Kyle's got this sense of pride, and for some reason, he will not break, because he's claimed that he's rarely ever sick.
I really am rarely ever sick.
Which it's true. While it's true, rarely doesn't mean never.
I know, but
so you can just say, and it's okay because it's not your fault. Hey, I'm sick.
But I'm not sick.
Well, you could say that though, because you are.
But it would be a lie,
very clearly sick.
and I'm not a liar.
You're exhausted.
I'm not exhausted. Look at me being here, all happy and recording.
You've said I think you said you were exhausted 5 minutes ago before we started recording to me.
That's because I've been in school for the past 7 hours straight. What do you expect from me?
I know, but you also are sick. You're normally
and it's 3 p.m. I've been doing school for 7 hours. I'm tired.
I know you're tired, but you're tired because you are
doing too much school in a day.
Because you're sick.
Look at that. We finish each other's sentences.
Yeah.
That's why we have a podcast together.
Speaking of, that's a really nice transition, Kyle. Thank you so much. We're gonna play a game. Me and you. This is
right. All I know about this, guys, is that there's a game we're gonna play. That's
guys,
all I got.
This is the first ever game on Milk and Screams. I hope it's not the last. I like games, and I think whenever we add a video component, there might be more games because it's hard to do games without visuals. But this game works without visuals.
Okay.
I'm gonna do as little explaining as possible to make this game work.
Okay, it's one of those.
Okay, so each of us are going to say a word. Okay, and I'm just gonna use a visual cue for us to start the word, and then when we say the word, we have to meet at the same word eventually, without telling each other. So it would just be say one word at a time. So just for example, I say orange, you say captain, and then we go, okay, the next step closer to each other, like the next degree of connectivity, and then I'll say ship, and you'll say, whatever, island, and then we'll keep going and going and going until we get to the exact same word, and that's when we both win.
Okay. So am I trying to connect a word to my previous word or to your previous word?
Together, we're trying to meet together at the same time.
We're just trying to say really any word we think the other person might think of based on the two previous words.
Yes.
Okay. So I understand the game.
Right. So like I said, ship and captain, we would say the words that would breach those two gaps together. Right. Okay.
Okay. Do our best. Okay.
And remember, one word. We can't say no.
Understood.
One word.
Understood.
I'm gonna give you a visual cue for every word. Okay.
Shirt.
Body.
Coat.
Human.
Torso. Person. Boy. Why am I boy?
I said that we could say any other words, Kyle, and you ruined the game. Okay. Person. Okay, any
person. There we go.
Okay.
I love it. We literally just flip flopped at the end.
Alright, let's play again.
I'm so confused. We said captain and torso, and then you were like, boy.
I was just trying to think what you would think. Alright, you ready to do it again? This is fun.
Alright, yeah, we can do one more. Let's do it.
Why can't we do two more?
I guess we can do two more. I don't. I don't have an answer. I don't know. I'm just here.
All right, I'm just gonna do my, a nod. Okay.
Okay.
Why can't I think of any words?
There are so many to choose from, Jacob.
All right. Hyena.
Cement. Oh, geez. Hold on. I have to think. So you said hyena?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Africa.
Safari. Ooh.
Disney.
Animal Kingdom.
Ooh,
oh,
so
it was
close.
right there.
So close. Okay.
Disney.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That was a lot quicker. Because we had the hyena connection, and then I was like, I was going to say Africa and then go to a city in Africa, but that was much easier. Safari.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do one more. I think this game's fun, and this is a fun game to do with your friends, too, if you want to do it at home. All right? Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Let's do people. Just the names of people. We don't have to know them personally, but like celebrities or like historical figures, okay?
Okay, give me a second. I want to think of a good one. Okay, got it.
Nikola
Genghis
Tesla.
Khan.
Nikola Tesla is what I said. Genghis Khan. Okay. You know his name is actually Genghis.
Genghis. The conqueror of China.
That's a bit from Brian Regan's new special, if you want to watch that.
It's not half bad. Not half
good.
bad.
Pretty good. Okay, Genghis Khan and Nikola Tesla. Okay. Alexander
Thomas
the Great.
Edison.
Okay.
I went to yours and you went to mine.
Okay. So now, okay.
I have to think. I have to think of what I need to. You said You said who? You said Alexander the Great.
Alexander the Great.
Okay. Who do I want to say? I don't know. Okay, I think I got one.
Napoleon.
Julius Caesar.
Okay.
All right. This is hard.
So we're in history now.
Okay. I got one. So
okay, I'm looking at you. Zeus.
Shakespeare.
I couldn't think of any more historical figures around that time. You said Shakespeare?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you said what? Zeus?
I said Zeus.
We're not even close.
We
haven't gotten anywhere closer.
Okay.
All right. Hades. What did you say?
I said Hades.
Oh, I said Hades
Yeah.
too.
That was weird. I didn't even expect to say that.
Yeah, look. It sounded like you didn't know what you were gonna say,
I said
and
Hades.
you just kind of like Ritters. That's what I heard. That's why I didn't know what you said.
I just didn't know like it came out. I was just like,
I'm pretty sure it came out as Ritters.
All right. Oh my god. All right. So that's the game. Hey, I don't know what this game's called.
It's called Match.
Hey, let's talk about something that we argued about yesterday.
Okay.
Made me really mad.
What did we argue about? I don't remember our conversations.
The name of a baby platypus.
Oh, okay. Here, people listening, I want you to picture or look up a picture of a baby platypus.
People who aren't listening, you can ignore this information.
I think by proxy they're ignoring it.
You're just singling out the people who are listening to this as if.
I was just addressing them, not singling them out as opposed to the non-listeners.
Go on, Mr. Jagelski.
So, Mr. or Miss Listener, look up a picture of baby platypus. They're adorable. Okay, I want to put that out there.
Platypus.
I learned yesterday that a baby platypus is called a puggle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's adorable. And I think that is a fitting name for them. I think that's perfectly fine.
As you know, we are the foremost experts on naming things properly.
Obviously, I know all the reasons why animals are named what they are. I think I have named all of them and correctly done so. And I think we have named everything else better than what it currently is.
Yes, everything that we've named on this show has been a improvement. And this is one that me and you disagree on.
Correct.
I think P is a good letter to start with for platypus, right? And I think when you're naming something that's a baby, it really has to fit that personality. Fawn is like the best example I can think of. Fawn is the perfect name for a baby deer. So precious, so wholesome. Kid for a goat is so good. I love that. Calf for a cow.
Yeah, you brought up kid yesterday, and that's one that I feel like could be done better.
It could be, but it makes so much sense already. Like, it's so ingrained in me. When I learned it was called a puggle, it just does not sit right with me. I think it should be pickle.
And that's where I'm so mad that you say that.
And that's where I get mad.
What? It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, if not pickle, then what? It cannot be puggle. It can't. I'm sorry. I refuse. We are part of the council. We need to come up with something better. The council of renaming things.
First of all, we're not part of the council. We are the council.
Okay, correct. We are the council of renaming things. What is it going to be if not Puggle? Which it's not going to be Puggle. So
it is going to be Puggle. We're keeping it Puggle.
What about
Jacob? We are the only members of the council, correct?
Yes.
So we don't have a tiebreaker, except for the fact that I am taller than you, so my word is law.
What if we?
Therefore, Puggle stays.
What if we flip the table, and if it's heads?
It won't. It'll be side. There's a really good chance it just is side.
What? Can we flip a coin?
I don't have a coin with me.
I have a coin.
Go get a coin.
I'm gonna go get a coin. Be right back. Whenever you're ready, homie G.
Let's go.
Okay, I have a coin, and I changed my mind.
You say Puggle is fine, and now you're just an idiot with a coin.
No. I don't want to name it Pickle.
Okay.
I want to name it a spool.
Here's my issue so far.
Okay.
Is that you've picked words that already exist. I think it would be better if you were to rename this with a word that does not yet exist.
That's fair.
Because Puggle, like kid, obviously is a baby goat and also is a word
calf
that already exists. Calf also as well, word that already exists.
That's kind of where I was going.
But because Puggle isn't, I feel like you should just choose some amalgamation of sounds that is a new word that is just as adorable as Puggle. And I challenge you to do so because Puggle's real adorable. And I'll be waiting with bated breath.
It's the gull part at the end that makes it cute.
Well, it's also the pug part that makes it cute.
I don't want it to sound like Dougal. You know what I mean? Like I want it to be my own word.
Right.
Right.
All right. Let's hear it.
So I'm going to say, I just lost it. Ginchi.
Ginchi.
Yeah, a Ginchi. That's the name. So Ginchee. It's got the double letter. Ginchi is cute. It's like Ginchi, like that. Like it's like that little Ginchi.
I think that would be a good word for a different baby something. I don't think it works for platypus. I think Puggle is great.
I think Puggle is too simple. It's too generic. Platypuses are some of the most interesting animals on Earth, and I think they deserve Ginchi, not Puggle. We're gonna flip a coin. And since I stuck at flipping coins, you're gonna flip it.
Here. If we land on heads, we keep it Puggle. Okay. If we land on tails, we change it to your weeaboo word.
Ginchi.
Ginchi. All right. Here goes the flip. Do I flip it? Do I put it?
Yes.
It's heads. We keep it Puggle, baby. I told you my word is law. The coin gods have smiled down upon this table and on this coin specifically. It was a Texas coin. I don't really know if that matters. Maybe the gods are really partial to Texas coins. Who knows?
To all the baby platypuses out there.
First of all, platypi.
To all the baby platypi out there who are listening right now, I'm sorry that I've let you down. But since me and Kyle are the only council members present in this meeting, and we're the only council members
in existence, yeah,
this is the way.
I just imagine all these little baby puggles crowded around one speaker,
listening
and being like, I hope they change the name. I hope the name changes. Come on. I hate the name Puggle. I hate it.
Yeah, and Kyle's smiling over you right now, saying,
I just did my part. I'm just the middleman. The coin gods are the ones smiling down upon you.
Yes, unfortunately. But Puggles are not the thing we're actually going to be talking about today on today's podcast.
Nope.
Something a bit more interesting has come up in the last couple of weeks that I want to talk about. It's interesting to me, especially knowing what I know about the specific topic. And I'm really excited to get to talk to you guys about it because I think it's a misconception that a lot of people have. Even you kind of included. Not completely misguided, but just like, something you may not know about this.
Don't even call me a little misguided.
We're moving on. So I'm going to talk about generations today.
What?
Generations. I really like talking about generations. It's super interesting to me. Now, to put things into perspective for you, I am a bit of a curious guy. I like learning about misconceptions in society, like things that, like, for example, the curse words episode that we did. You know, like that whole history behind those words and why they are quote unquote bad words is so interesting to me. Like it's not what people think. It's not, nobody knows or researches that. I like learning about those kinds of things. Generations became the topic of generations became that for me. And the reason why it's come up into like my frame of mind recently is because there's a war going on between generations right now. Between Gen Z and Millennials.
I noticed this a couple weeks ago where I didn't pay attention to it much, but it was it was something about like Gen Zers getting mad that Millennials were like parting their hair to the side or in the middle, and then like girls specifically, and then the Millennials were like, well, we invented the side part. And like we did away with the middle part, or maybe it was the other way around. I haven't really paid attention, but I saw the thing
the
start.
The hair thing is so weird to me because everyone does their hair differently.
Everybody does it differently.
Like I know like there are trends. Like there are trends that like we remember, but the way you do your hair is like I don't understand that part. But like skinny jeans, it really came about when Gen Zers were making fun of Millennials for their style choices on TikTok, which I would argue is a Gen Z app. Like if you want to if you want to go there, I think it goes from boomers and Gen X, that's your Facebook, aficionados. Below that on Twitter, and I think Instagram more is millennials. I just a very broad generalization, but we're gonna get into why none of this actually matters. And then Gen Z is TikTok.
Well, I'll say, I think there are obviously a lot of millennials on TikTok as well.
Yes.
There might be even the same amount as Gen Zers. I think Gen Zers are the ones that care more.
Yes.
And especially the ones that care more about the creators on TikTok, the big names. The Gen Zers are the people
Pushing
that care about them and push them and follow them and look at their every action. And the millennials are the ones that are like, yeah, that person exists. They're cool.
Something I found interesting recently is what we go back 5 years, right? Gen Z has not even been a coined term for 5 years. It has not even, there has been a name tossed around for a while, but the big talk was boomers crapping all over millennials. That was the thing to talk about. You know, the hipster thing and everything, that was all boomers did, was just talk crap to millennials. And then we finally got over that, and we're not the youngest people on earth, and Gen Z became an actual quote-unquote generation, and they did the exact same thing. They just started targeting and crapping on kids, like actual kids. There's not a single Gen Zer that is above the age of 25. That's the cap for Gen Z. Technically, we are in Gen Z.
I just don't associate with them.
Right. So there's this weird gap of, you know, we've been lumped up with millennials for half of our lives, and now we're told we're in Gen Z. And I honestly don't feel like I'm a part of either of those generations. The oldest millennials have kids that are millennials.
Right.
And that's weird, like to think about. Like, you know, my sister is one of the oldest millennials, and she has a kid who's in Gen Z, but like it's very possible for her to have had kids that are millennials because the dates go back that far.
I think, I also,
but
if you don't know, like, we were born in 98, which is why we're in that kind of weird gap. So we definitely got lumped with the millennials, and I've always felt like, I kind of also feel like I don't belong in either, but I relate more to millennials than I do Gen Z. I really don't understand some of the most, if not most of the opinions and the things that Gen Z people, quote unquote, care about. But also in terms of being millennial, you know, obsessed with nostalgia millennials. I didn't have things like cable. I like, we were kind of poor growing up as well, so I didn't experience a lot of the things that millennials kind of define themselves by as millennials. So I don't have the nostalgia for a lot of those things either. So I'm also in that kind of gap where I don't feel like I belong to either, but I relate more to millennials than I do to Gen Z.
Now, I will say this about millennials. It's not like every single millennial on the face of planet Earth is like rising up for a battle against a bunch of 14-year-olds on TikTok. But there are very notable like people who just feel so attacked, and like they just create these rants, like people who are trying to quote unquote cancel Eminem for like his lyrics, and they're like, you can't cancel Eminem. You can't.
Eminem was my childhood, bro.
My childhood.
Mom spaghetti.
Mom spaghetti. Like, I mean, we're just so angry.
You don't even know, dude. I used to cry in the shower to Eminem. You don't even know.
like, do you hear how you sound? Like, it's so wild to me. But all that to say this, I'm going to blow your mind here.
Okay.
Generations don't exist.
Let's hear some more.
Start the Vsauce music here. Generations don't exist. We made them up. It's not like they're actually things that like every, you know, certain amount of years things change. They're made up by the cultural heads of like the time that even the U.S. Census, like who takes track of all the people who are born and stuff like that, does not recognize generations at all. They recognize the year you're born and everything like that, but they don't recognize generations. It begs the question as to why, first of all, why they exist, and second of all, why do we feel so at odds with each other based on generation?
Well, I think generations exist, just not in the context that we have them in. Because, you know, you hear like, I typically hear it when it comes to someone that's part of like an Asian family, like an Asian immigrant family that's going to college, or, you know, they're a second generation Chinese immigrant, like their first to graduate college, stuff like that, is when I typically hear that term generation, to where I think generations exist.
All those terms are coined in the last 100 years. So they're not like age-old terms that we've used and like even adapted. They're terms that were used in the last 100 years to describe. Basically, this is essentially what happened. Back in the early 1900s, these people who fought in World War One went through the Great Depression. Or actually, they didn't go through the Great Depression, but they were full-grown adults during the Great Depression. And at the turn of the century, thought they were just the coolest people on earth. And these were, again, specifically Americans. This doesn't really exist anywhere else in the world, which is why, again, this is weird that we have this thing that we talk about. I mean, in other developed countries, like in England and like Europe, I think this may come up every once in a while. Generations, specifically like boomers or millennials, stuff like that. But this is really an American thing. They call. Do you know what they call themselves? Because they name generations. Do you know what they call themselves?
Which people?
The people that I was just referring to. People who fought in World War One. Turn of the century.
No.
The Greatest Generation.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're the most humblest people on earth, I'm sure. They call themselves the Greatest Generation.
Yeah, why not?
So they're the ones who started it, because this is as far back as they go. Because they've since now gone back and renamed stuff, but they were the first ones to do it. They named themselves the Greatest Generation. The next generation was the Silent Generation. That was during the Depression.
Right.
And on. And then after World War II ended, and that's when the quote-unquote baby boom happened. And that's what boomers came from. And then Gen X was this weird, 65 to 79, I think, is the year. That gap is Gen X, and then Millennials, and then Gen Z. So it's funny too, because whenever there's been a gap of more than 15 years that hasn't been named yet, somebody is always trying to get the name right. They're trying to throw something that sticks against the wall, right? Again, these are all made up.
Right.
And not everybody who goes in a generation, who is in a generation, fits the description. Think about the oldest millennial right now is like in their early 40s, technically, that or like in their late 30s, almost 40. How different they are from people who are like 2 years older than us. Like, they spent almost 2 decades of their lives, without basic access to the internet. We grew up with full access to the internet and still had, the time to play outside. But even 2 years later, my sister Hannah had a completely different childhood, essentially.
Yeah, like, and that's where the generation thing
falls apart.
Not falls apart for me. It's where it kind of almost solidifies its existence to me, because my younger brother is 2 years younger than me and grew up completely different than I did, and my little sister is 4 years and way different than I did.
And you guys are all born in the same generation, Kyle.
No, that's what I'm saying, because we're in that weird gap where we're kind of like, we're the technical Gen Zers, but like we were in that gap where we relate to millennials. They are for sure in that Gen Z era, and that's where it kind of solidifies to me, is like my older brother is right at the end of the millennial era, and that 6-year difference is so obvious between the two of them.
Think about people in the next 10 years, how different their childhoods would be growing up. And think about, because again, even still, even if you don't want to call yourself Gen Z, you are technically part of Gen Z. Think about how different your child is going to be from Trevor's child, my nephew Trevor. He's a Gen Z. You know what I mean? Like that is the distinction I'm making here. There's stereotypes, and there's stereotypes that are used by older generations to berate the younger generation. Now, this is going to sound like a young person beating up on old people, which I do love to do. I absolutely get so much joy out of hating old people.
He gets so mad. Anytime anybody that is in an authoritative position does something, he's like, hey, how come that guy isn't younger? How come we don't have somebody younger in that position? He gets so mad. I think it's so funny because he doesn't think old people have brains.
That is the general consensus for me. Old people don't have brains. But what's funny about this distinction with generations is this has been going on, like, not generations, but this warfare between the old and young has been going on since the beginning of time. I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I think we have literal cave drawings, cave writings, talking about the older was writing down on the walls. The younger generation is using fire as a commodity. They'll never understand what I went through. Even Plato was. Is it Aristotle first, then Plato? Plato was
Aristotle's student.
Right. Aristotle was talking about Plato using the written word instead of orating. He was like, people will never read. They'll need to be orated to. Why are you writing things down? Like, that distinction has always existed. It always will exist. So, number one, why can't we get past that? Why can't we just say, hey, you're a person. Let's validate each other. Instead, we have to make up these dumb names. And I was getting to the point where people were, during the millennial age, whenever they were trying to find the name that sticks, authors just started publishing books about those generations. One of the names for millennials that was before the actual millennial name was given was Echo Boomer.
The Echo Boomer.
Yeah, the Echo Boomer. Or like there's different titles that kept getting thrown out and then millennials stuck. And then someone else came up with Gen Z. They're literally making money. Again, capitalism. They're making money off of an age-old dumb thing that we shouldn't even care about anymore.
Who's making money?
The authors are the people who are writing books off of trying to find the name that sticks. They're literally making money off of selling books, trying to stir up. I don't want to say class warfare because it's not. It's like ageism, I guess, is a technical term for it. Like, you know what I mean? Like people who. The young looking up at the old and saying, ugh, and the old looking down at the young and saying, oh, well, I've done so bad. You know what I mean? Am I making sense?
Yes.
Okay. I know sometimes I just spout stuff out and I just don't make sense. So I just want to make sure I'm being clear. So it just bothers me. I don't think it should be a thing anymore. If it's all fake and made up, why is it made up? Why are we arguing with each other about who gets to part their hair which way and who did it first? And, because the age gap is so weird. There are millennials who've had kids that are millennials. That's such a weird thing to me. Like, you know what I mean? I don't understand why it makes sense that the age gap is that far apart, and then you want to lump everybody into that distinction. You know what I mean? Especially with the millennial stereotypes, where it's all about being self-centered and lazy and living with your parents and all this stuff. Like that was the target thing for millennials back in when we were coming up in high school. Like that was the biggest target on their back was they're lazy and entitled and all this stuff, and they would shoot back with, well, you guys ruined the world. You guys, ruined the economy and all this stuff, but with your prosperity in the 70s and whatever, and it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's all made up. It doesn't even matter. Like it's literally made up. It doesn't exist. We're not born into a generation. It doesn't it's a completely made up artificial thing. This doesn't make sense to me.
I think yes, there's way too much hate between the generations that exists. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I don't agree that it's just made up so it should just go away. Like, give a name to the people that are born in a certain time frame. Who cares?
Well, what purpose does it serve besides to make that distinction and make that argument, make them argue? You know what I mean? Like, what purpose does it serve?
I think it serves the purpose of saying this is a group of people that obviously act and think differently than the group that came before them.
That's the thing. You're stereotyping those people.
I'm not stereotyping them. I think they do act differently.
You aren't, but those people are. They're saying, oh, these people are self-centered. And then the boomers were self-centered. And then the silent generation was self-centered.
That's what I'm saying. The stereotype and the hate that is behind it, that doesn't matter. That's fine.
Right.
But I think it's fine that people born in certain time frames have a name associated to them because they can be proud of the fact that they are different from the people that came before.
Again, those people aren't all they're not all thinking the exact same way either. Like, not every millennial had took a selfie with a dog filter on. And not every Gen Zer is on TikTok and a communist. You know what I mean? Like those sweeping generalizations are what separates the generations. We should be more communal. Like that's just the way it should be. Generations, again, they don't exist. They're not in nature. They're not like solid things. They're made up social constructs that don't make any sense. They don't help anything. They just label things and they label them in a bad, negative way. That's all I'm saying. And I think we should just get rid of them. Who cares what year you were born? If you're going to do it by decade, please, not by multiple decades. Again, it shouldn't be possible for a millennial to have a kid who's a millennial. You know?
Don't breathe like that at the end of a sentence.
That's the thing. It just should be that.
Well, I mean, like you said, it doesn't matter. So why are you so mad about it?
I'm mad because it matters to so many people. I'm mad because people are duetting videos of people making fun of millennials and just screaming at them. Like that video I showed you on Twitter.
Yeah, but those videos are hilarious.
They're funny to laugh at, but I feel so bad for that person because they're so wrapped up in this thing that doesn't matter. I guarantee you they don't know how generations started. I guarantee you they have no idea why they're called a millennial and how stupid it is, the reason that they're called a millennial. I guarantee you they have no idea. And that's sad to me because they're building their entire personality off of, I have to part my hair like this because I'm a millennial. I have to wear skinny jeans like this because I'm a millennial. And, I have to hate boomers.
I think you're defining these people as if they find out what generation they're a part of and then they base their personality off of that. And I think it's the opposite.
Well, I think it's you think they're born like in
no,
a certain...
I think people that were born in, around our time, a little bit before our time, the culture that was kind of around was, skinny jeans and, stuff like that.
Right.
So that was the culture and that's what they wore. They weren't like, I'm a millennial, so I have to wear skinny jeans. At that time, it was skinny jeans look good, so I'm going to wear skinny jeans. And at some point that was like, okay, that was a millennial thing to think this way. So it happened the opposite way. Culture defined something that they wanted to do, and then there was a label that happened to also coincide with it.
Specifically with fashion trends change and morph so fast that it's weird to think that people are defined by that. In my opinion, like especially with fashion nowadays, like how different and unique it is compared to how rudimentary and like solid it was when we were growing up. Like you were one of three people in high school. Like you wore athletic gear, you were, quote unquote emo, or you were
preppy.
Preppy. You wore the
or chubbies.
Chubbies and thinking of Sperry's.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was one of three things you had to wear. Like, now you can express yourself more, I think. And I think the reason why I'm so charged up about it is because Gen Z, so far that I've seen, is super, super expressive. And I hate making this generalization again, but I feel like because this label has been given to people in the past, they feel like they can't express themselves or get out of their ruts because they feel, not that they feel like I'm a millennial, I can't do anything, but it's that mindset that's been put on there. It's whenever you repeat something to somebody and whenever you drill it into them, it changes them. It changes the way they think and the way they are. If they think I have to wear skinny jeans to be popular, it's the trend, I have to do that, it's going to be impressed on their mind. Not that they have to because it's their generation, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think it also becomes human nature to just get set in your ways.
Yeah.
A lot of people use the term that they're a creature of habit. I think just humans are a creature of habit.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a pet peeve of mine, is when people say, you're like, oh, you wore that shirt last week. I'm a creature of habit. Yeah, I know. You're a person. We all are creatures of habit. We all do some of the same things all the time because that's just who we are. And that also goes for ideals that you carry from, being part of a certain generation, that you get set in the ways of, skinny jeans are good looking, so I'm going to keep wearing skinny jeans. And then high-waisted pants came around, and then some of these people were like, but skinny jeans, I got to keep wearing skinny jeans. I can't wear high-waisted pants.
Yeah.
And maybe they made that switch at some point, but it's just because they were set in their ways from the generation in which they were defined. The generation didn't define them, but they were kind of defined within the generation. So either way you flip that script, they're still set in their ways and have something to get out of in terms of fashion to go and express themselves further. So some people are just kind of stuck.
This is how I feel. I feel if you feel any shame in your generation, if you feel like old people say I'm too self-centered, or if I'm living with my parents, like each of your situations is different. And this battle between quote-unquote generations has been going on since the dawn of man. Old people will always look down on younger people, and younger people will always look, away from older people. They'll always rebel, quote-unquote. That's the way it always has been. So be yourself. Be unique. Be uniquely you. Don't feel like you have to morph, the way you are because you're in a certain generation.
Yeah, I think it's important to be okay with being yourself. I think a lot of people are scared of. I'll call it a semi-example. Kind of within the past 5-ish years, maybe a little more now, it has become increasingly more mainstream to like anime.
Yeah.
So that some people who in the past maybe liked it and were kind of ashamed of it no longer are. They kind of got an easy out because anime liking started to become very more mainstream.
Right.
So, but all that to say, I think everybody has something that, some opinion of theirs or something that they like, something that they want to do that they're ashamed of, and so they don't. I think everybody has at least one of those things.
Yeah.
Just go for it. Be you. Unless that thing is like murder, then just be you.
Please don't murder people.
Yeah, don't murder people. That's not cool.
Please don't murder anybody. And I also like to say to my boomers and my millennials, because you guys are getting older too, chillax. They're kids. And kids who, even if you're an adult and you're Gen Z, respect your elders, but also be your own person.
Yeah, I don't know if I made the point. I thought of a point earlier, and I don't think I made it clearly, or I tried to make it at all. I think, obviously, I agree with you that just all people should just be more of a collective humanity and just be more together.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the generations. Some people find pride within their generation and within, the friend groups that they have within that generation and that pride within their generation doesn't necessitate looking down on other generations. So I'm okay with the feel good that they have within their generation. But to echo what you said within that point, stop hating on the people that are outside of your generation.
It's so annoying.
I'll say this. Just like if you're going to give advice to somebody, like say if you're a boomer, for instance, you're going to give advice to somebody that's younger than you, don't make it about what was the correct advice for your time.
Yeah.
Don't make it about well, when I was your age it was it's a different time. Make the advice about their current situation so that they can actually get helped out. Because the second you give them advice that applied to your time, they have A, probably stopped listening, and B, have received zero help. So don't make it a generational thing. Just make it a helping thing. Help doesn't necessitate a generational filter on the advice.
Yeah.
Help just necessitates advice.
Definitely.
I feel like I said the word necessitate a lot today.
I feel like I said the word skinny jeans a lot. Way too much. How long have we been going?
46.
46?
Yep.
How do you feel about wrapping it up?
I'm good with that. The first sub 1 hour episode.
Yeah, you're right.
We've been kind of kicking strong, but
I feel like we've exhausted this topic a bit.
Yeah, we're good at ending. I feel like an hour mark is kind of. I think it's just a mark that we've strived for.
Yeah. For
really arbitrary purposes. I don't really think there's a concrete reason. It's just a nice little milestone to be like, yeah, that was an hour. Good stuff. Yeah. Woohoo.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm super excited to continue this podcast. If you want some more resources on why generations suck, there's a good 25-minute video on YouTube. It's called it's with Adam Conover. He's the guy who does
I really hate that guy.
Adam Ruins Everything. It's a TV show centered around ruining common misconceptions, which is why I really like the show. The guy does his research. It's really, really a funny show, but he does a little presentation at this this convention, and the video is called Millennials Don't Exist. So if you just type in Millennials Don't Exist, it'll come up like the first result. That's where I gleaned a lot of my information from this episode, but he explains things a lot more clearly. He has a whole presentation, so I highly recommend watching that. If you're still kind of confused as to how these things came about, really give it a listen, because again, it really just shows how arbitrary and how, for lack of a better word, stupid generations and naming generations is.
What do you think they'll call the next one? Well,
the question is, when will Gen Z stop? So
what the starting point for Gen Z is? What,
96?
So positive. Gen Z is probably going to be done here pretty soon.
Yeah, but they'll wait like 20 years to rename the next one, because that's how it works typically.
Because if technically Gen Z was 96, then what have they done? Like 18-year gaps or 20-something, or 20-something?
That's the thing too. It varies the gaps. So Boomer is a 30-year gap. Gen X is like a 15-year gap. Millennials is like a 20-year gap, and then Gen Z is from that point on.
I would assume. Let's say the next generation will start 2025.
2025. So that's 3 years. Okay.
That's a big 30. That's a big 30-year Gen Z period.
Right.
Or close to 30.
And then that generation will go until, let's just say,
however long. But let's say it's 2025. What do you think it's going to be called? What do you want it to be called? What do you think it should be called?
I hope by that point we've grown out of generations and that we don't use them anymore.
We won't have.
But I know we won't have, but I hope that's my hope for the world. But since you insist, and since we are the renaming council of these United States.
Well, if we're the renaming council, I don't think we can rename a generation that hasn't been named, because we're the renamers.
But
so let's decide on a name that we will use to rename it later when it's inevitably named, not what we say.
Yeah, exactly. I think this generation that is currently coming up. So wait, we're naming them for 2025 on, right?
Yes, whatever that next generation is going to be. That'll probably go till 2050, let's say.
Right. I think that generation is going to turn the table, and they're going to be obsessed with Sesame Street.
No, my word.
And they're going to be called the Snuffleupagus Generation. Snuff for short. That's such an awful name. Snuff. That's like a tobacco.
I think come 2025, there will have been a phenomena across the globe, and somehow all the platypi will have figured out how to breed exponentially, and because of that, they don't really know what to do with all the platypi, and they can't just kill them all because of animal rights. So they decide that every child, when born, is given a free baby platypus, to also take home, and that is a pet that they will grow up with. So they will be, since they have such a good name, because the coin gods have smiled upon us, they will be the Puggle generation. They'll be Generation Pug. But the pug is short for Puggle, not the dumb dog. Hopefully that dog will be extinct by then.
Probably will be if it keeps going the way it is with dog breeding. Dog breeding is another thing that makes me so mad. We'll talk about that another time, I guess. I hate dog breeding so much. It makes me so furious.
So I would like to point out that in 2025 we'll be 27, which is the best number.
And I'll be dead.
Yeah, you'll be having your midlife crisis.
I've already had it. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Hug your nearest Gen Zer.
Yeah,
but within reason. If you know them and they trust you,
right?
Don't
And also you both quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah, don't just go hug a kid. Please don't do that.
You'll go find a child. Hey, these two grown men told me to come hug you. I don't know what it's about.
Please don't do that. Just don't hug anybody then. Just
wait. You know what? Just get your hands off people. Give them to yourself.
We'll see you guys next week.